people are going crazy about Chloe Bailey's sex scene with Damson Idris in her new Amazon show. Today we have entertainment reporter and host of No Hipsters pod, Ronse, to talk all about it. Let's get into the video. Ronse, nice to have you.
Of course, thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
It has been a while. So let's talk about Chloe Bailey. The internet has been going crazy over her new sex scene in the new Amazon show. Why has the name escaped me? Is it Swarms?
Yeah, Swarm.
Yeah, Swarm. Yeah. So have you seen the scene? What are your thoughts?
I have seen the scene. I was shocked, actually. I was like, but listen, she's a grown lady. I think she's still, she's committed to this edgy image. We even talked about this actually one of the last times we were together, and so I think this is what she wants for herself, and that's fine.
So here's the thing. I saw all the hype online, and then when I saw the scene, I didn't think it was that explicit. I think compared to what we've seen her do, and what we've seen,
we cover up their ass, kind of. It was pretty explicit. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I was like, it was more explicit than I was expecting.
It was less than I was expecting for her, because we've seen her do all sorts of things. I mean, this was they didn't even show more, they just showed her back. They showed the back angle. They didn't show as much as I thought they would show, to be honest.
We saw cheeks in that one.
We definitely saw cheeks for sure, but I feel like we've seen those cheeks before, right? That's my point. Unprovoked in a music video, all sorts. So, but it begs the question, right? There are two questions I have, right? She had a little interview with her co-star, the lady in the show. I think the girl that walked in and saw them having sex. And she talked.
Sure, yeah.
And she talked about how she hasn't had experienced sex that many times, so she wasn't so comfortable doing the scene. But Damson Idris made her feel comfortable. I guess to me the question is, why are these Black women especially taking on these over-sexualized roles that Hollywood pushes them into, but yet in their real lives they're not promiscuous, or they're not quote unquote slutty? I give you examples like Beyonce, who's married, Nicki Minaj, even Rihanna. These people have been in 1-2 max relationships in their careers, but Taylor Swift, who we know I couldn't name how many people Taylor Swift has been accused of dating on my two hands. I can't do that. But Taylor Swift is not positioned in this way. When it's a white woman, they're never positioned in this over-sexualized way. But when it's a Black woman who's not a quote unquote slut, they always love to do this. Do you have any comments on that?
A couple of comments. I think firstly that it's a slight oversimplification. Saying that someone is filming a sexy scene or wearing maybe revealing clothes. I don't think. Look, okay, let's be very specific, right? It's not a sexy scene, it's a sex scene. Okay. Right.
And then it's not just revealing clothes, it's humping and thrusting and dancing in an over-sexualized way, shaking if we bring up scenes from Nicki Minaj, we've seen it all. Right. Beyonce is known for her sexuality and the way she dances, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. To me, it's just interesting how with Black women, they harp on that over-sexualization, but these women are not slutty, quote unquote, in their real lives. They're more reserved in their real lives. Nicki Minaj brags about how her PM is clean and this and that, and she doesn't let anyone access it. She brags about it. But when it's a Taylor Swift, they love to position her as an innocent, cute girl, Ariana Grande, but they typically are known to be more, out there.
So what I was going to say is, are we saying that Hollywood is putting these women in this position, or have they made a choice as far as their personal brand?
Well, I think especially specifically when you're dealing with a 21-year-old. How old is Chloe now? 23. Yeah. I mean, I look at things by your frontal lobe hasn't developed. What do you know? Music is a young person's game. A lot of these people, I don't think it's them crafting these ideas. I really think it's, the music industry saying this is what you have to do to be successful as a black woman. This is why Jermaine Dupri is saying, you know, all these rappers, they're all strippers, whatever he said back then.
Well, yeah. So, I disagree strongly. I said degree, disagree strongly, and I think that I think these women are choosing number one, but number two, it comes down to what people are looking to see. And this is not to say that there's only one type of black woman out there. I think there are others. I wouldn't say that SZA, I mean, I guess SZA has some like sexy scenes in her latest video.
Did you see her? Well, like that was an interesting comment. Okay, go on, because I know you saw her half completely butt naked in her last music video. Okay.
At first, and then when I finished, I was like, okay, that's maybe not the greatest example. But I guess my point is that I think there are more images out there now. Of course, the sexier people are at the forefront, but I don't think that's unique to black women, I have to say. And also,
so I just want to give me a white superstar, right? That's on the level of a Beyonce and a Nicki Minaj. Okay. That has led with her sexuality in the same degree in the past decade.
In the past decade, that might be a tough one. I mean, there's a Halsey. We can say Halsey. We could say,
but she's black. She's black.
Actually, yes. I honestly think she tells people that she likes to talk about her whatever percentage of black heritage so she can wear braids in peace. But
I think you can't find it. I think you can't find it because white women are not pushed. They are allowed to be more complex. I think in the 2000s, yeah, women were just breaking through. And so, yeah, you had to be sexy. That's why we had Britney Spears. We had all these people doing all these things. But I think now they've allowed more dimensionality in white musicians, female musicians, that they don't afford black female musicians. So when you're talking about the top tier, they have to be oversexualized or they don't break through in the same way. This is my observation.
I understand, and it's not an unfounded one. I just think that, you know, because if it were that easy, then everyone who was taking their clothes off would be sexy. Chloe still hasn't broken through, for being completely honest. Her songs keep tanking, single after single. It's just not working out for her.
So when you say breakthrough, that's interesting because I would argue, like, is music having a hit song, does that really matter in 2023? Yes. We have TikTokers that have hit songs. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who they are. TikTokers that have hit songs that probably do better numbers than Sweetie and all these people, they don't have the brand that we know about. So I think there's a divorce between music and brand. I think there's so when it comes to the brand of Chloe Bailey, she's huge.
I wouldn't go as far as saying huge, but I'll say yes, she's recognizable. But as a musical entity, I don't think she's major. I think a lot of it is really just having this Beyonce backing that has helped her significantly. But she's yet to have like a real like hit, like a top 10 hit. And so, but I guess to your point, I'll see that I'm struggling to think of like a white star who is major and is like as sexy in her presentation, but I'm a little hesitant to say that, oh, this is just black women, and because I feel like that sounds a bit too. We're veering towards the territory of a certain type of mindset that I just disagree with, where like everyone needs to be a nun, or everyone has to present a certain way. Now, of course, not everyone has to present as sexy, so I know what you're saying, that yes, we should see a variety, but I think that's less on the artists and more on the audience. I think so often
I think in terms of like everybody having to present as a nun, that's a completely different conversation that has nothing to do with this. I think that the female sexual revolution has liberated Americans. That's hence the birth of the manosphere, right? So I'm not even talking about a woman should clothes do what you want, dress as you want. I don't think anybody cares. My contention here, my main issue here, is that when you think about images of black women, and this translates maybe because I'm a black woman, so I know, like when I go to Asia, when I go around the world, their reference of a black woman is Beyonce naked. So, oh, Beyonce, and that's how they perceive you. But a white woman is allowed to operate in so many other avenues in mainstream media is the observation. But maybe that's something as a black woman, and please, if you're a black woman watching, leave a comment down below, let us know. But something as a black woman that you've seen that experience of being over sexualized when you didn't even, hey, where did you even get that from?
Right, right. I get what you're saying, and definitely I think it's crucial that we have a variety. And I think so much of why things are the way they are, I really don't think is on the artist. Part of it is the audience. Part of it is just the nature of media today. I don't think that so because think about like 2002 for instance, like TRL, how we'd see like a Fifi Dobson, but at the same time we'd see like a Beyonce, or you see like all the I mean maybe Jill Scott might be a bad example because she wasn't as huge, but Alicia Keys and all these different people with different styles. We don't have that today, right? And
This is what I'm saying.
right.
This is what I'm saying.
But I
This is what
think
I'm saying.
I think you're laying that at the feet of the artist, which I disagree with.
That's not what that's we even just talked about how I said the labels brand them in that way, and the artist, I don't think they know better. I think the artist, who at the end of the day, you're gonna want to play the game that's gonna make you number one. So your label says this is what you have to do to be number one. I'll do what I need to do. SZA, like you brought up SZA, she tried to be a little bit more PG. I mean, you could say it worked. I never saw SZA as like a top tier artist until recently. I started noticing a lot more hype around her. So maybe the sexualization of her is what has opened that door for her.
I don't think so, but I'm sure it seems like it's happening at the same time. But it's hard to say this is the cause because she had all these hits before this album dropped with that video, and so. It's really, I'm always, I don't doubt that labels have a say in how artists present, but I really do think that most of the time, especially today, what we see these artists present as is majority their own doing. I really do believe that. And so, and especially with Chloe, who people have told her she was doing too much so often. She has all the reasons to tone it down. And
she fights for the fact that this is me, this is me, this is me.
Right, exactly. And so, but if there's so much pushback, right? Why wouldn't she change if the whole point is to do what people want and then and mold yourself into whatever will make you successful? And so I do think that this is she wants that for herself. I think
this is making her successful. I think people might say she's doing too much, but they know at the end of the day they're in the comment sections talking about her. I don't think there's a person under 35 that doesn't know in America that's black that doesn't know who Chloe Bailey is. I don't think
it's possible.
I don't think there's a person. So that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, yeah, her music might not be, as you said, but she has more. I think, in fact, she has more social media impact than a SZA, in terms of the hype around her, and that's because of her sexuality. And it's the same way as Saweetie, who is really an influencer, right? Selling 2,000 copies of her album. Ain't nobody listen to her music, but she's still a huge brand, and I go back to my point that it's not about the music anymore, because for music you can always just go on TikTok or go on YouTube and explore music from around the world. But when it comes to a brand as an artist, it's so much more than having good music, and you can get away with not even having good music. Sure. Right. Okay, but let's move on to Chloe. This is the other point that I wanted to make, and it's about Halle, her sister, and this idea that her sister is doing, coming out with Little Mermaid. They released the trailer, at the Oscars. Amazing stuff. And I just wonder if Chloe has bad juxtaposition with her sister because of this, and the way that she presents herself in the world. Because let me just give you an example. Well, first I'll say that we forget that the people that are watching The Little Mermaid, as much as we, I'm sure all of us are going to go watch it, But the people that are watching the Little Mermaid, these are 5-year-olds, these are 3-year-olds. I remember the first time I watched those movies, I was that age. These are the people that are going to be watching that. And these are also people that have access to the internet, access to Twitter, access to TikTok. Sure that the clip of her is not going to be on TikTok. It's on Twitter. You have to go on Twitter to watch it, or go and watch it on Amazon. But it's almost like they have a gateway from watching The Little Mermaid to watching Chloe Bailey thrust and hump. And as much as like that's okay for our age, because look, we're matured, but what is that for children that their brains have not developed? They don't understand, these things, and they're accessing a Little Mermaid, and just along with that branding, they'll turn and see Chloe Bailey naked in a sex scene.
Well, I think it's a bit of a stretch to think that a 4-year-old or 5-year-old sees much beyond what their parents show them. So I don't think
You don't have children, do you?
I mean, but it's really, and also I remember being that age. How much do you see beyond what you're shown? Now, of course, when you're 10, it's a little different. You have a bit more control as far as like
I think you're forgetting one thing, that we didn't grow up as children in the social media world.
True.
And what is accessible to children right now, this is why YouTube had to create a whole new version of YouTube just for kids.
I was gonna say, I've seen my nephew, and I've seen how like limited, how like age controlled everything is, like parental guidance, everything. So I don't really think that a small child is seeing much beyond what his parents.
So I'll play a clip right here. There's a new app. There's this app, and it looks like a calculator, and kids type in a code in the calculator, and it unlocks the parental restrictions on their phone, which gives them access to the whole internet.
Can you spot the real calculator app? So I'm going to walk you through this on my phone here. This one, I'll tell you right away, is the real one that comes default in the phone. But all of these versions of it, watch what it does. So I'm going to pull this up, and you can take it full here if you want to, Tom. So we're going to just do like a regular calculator. We're going to add 9 plus 9, 18, 2 plus 3, 5. But then watch what happens when I enter in the code that I used when I set this up. It opens up a secret vault to hide photos. Now, I've just thrown a couple of them in there just to have an example for you. So then what happens is, now watch what happens. I've closed out of it, but if I double click to bring it back up, it goes back to that calculator setting. So these other two are actually versions of the same sort of thing.
And this is what 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds, I mean, it's easy to think, I've watched videos where people are talking about Kim Kardashian. Maybe I'll cut it in here, and how she's talking about gatekeeping her children's experiences on social media, and how she doesn't allow them, access these things without, like, for example, the only way she accesses Twitter is through Kim's phone. That's what she claims. But when you look at the news coverage of all these new techniques that people use to groom children and give them access to the full internet, and knowing what it was like to be that age, and doing things that parents, you would just look at your parents and be like, wow, you guys don't know, even though maybe not as crazy as what it is today, but there's things that kids do that they're like, they think their parents are stupid because like, or they think like, wow, their parents really don't know what we're doing. So to me, it's interesting how people think, these things are really kept away from children, because they're not.
I appreciate the point you're making. I still think it's a bit of a stretch that a 4-year-old is going to see like some viral scene from some other show that has nothing to do with, that technically has nothing to do with Halle, right? So, but I get what you're saying, right? And let's just say everybody saw everything. I think people understand that these are just the actors at the end of the day, first and foremost. But also, I think Chloe and Halle are doing enough to, to smear their image with the guys that they've been dating. Like Halle's with that DDG guy.
That's another conversation. I know that Disney's regretting giving her that Little Mermaid, and not because of the reasons that, white supremacy wants it to be, but because of what is happening after the case.
Yeah,
right? And I think, honestly, when I think about even Logan Paul and Jake Paul, I bring this example. When Logan did that whole suicide thing in Japan, Jake Paul lost all his brand deals. He had nothing to do with that. But he was blacklisted in Hollywood just
Right.
by being associated with Logan. So for you to I think people don't realize, or maybe you don't realize
I'm not
the
saying that.
impact in being branded with somebody that not only is your sibling, but you actually have a girl group with. Like, it's even more than a Logan Paul and a Jake Paul.
I get the point that you're making. I just don't think that it applies in just a sex scene and like on Amazon. She's not like she went to shoot porn. This is an Amazon show, right? I get what you're saying. Janet
Was that
Jackson.
not porn? That wasn't porn? You just said you said it was quite explicit.
I'm saying it's a short sex scene in like a legit show on a legit platform. I know like Janet Jackson lost a Coca-Cola deal after MJ had his first child molestation situation in the 90s. So I know that there's precedence for this. I just don't see it here. Like oh, Halle, you can no longer be Little Mermaid, or you're no longer this or that because your elder sister shot this scene with another major actor, and like it's just I don't see it in this situation. But I see the point you're trying to make. I don't see it, and also let me just add that listen, I think we need to understand that these, as far as like she's playing in a child movie. She's not the first very like adult figure to play in like kid movies. Angelina Jolie has done like animated movies and has done like childlike things that
I think
really,
Angelina Jolie specifically divorced herself from that bad girl image for a while before
fair.
she started taking on. So there's a whole generation of people that don't know Angelina Jolie was making out in a limousine, having
Kissing
sex in a limousine before she got to an award show. There's a whole generation that don't know anything about that, right? So I mean, I hear what your point is. I think we disagree. Everyone, leave a comment down below. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Ronse? Do you see there's an issue with this, or do you see that it's not a big deal? Like, kids could get over it. I think sometimes as adults, like I said earlier, we sort of like, to us that scene is not a big deal, but I wonder what that scene is to a 10-year-old, to a 13-year-old.
Listen,
What is that scene to them?
10-year-old, 13-year-old who sees that scene is really a failure on their parents' part. Like, I really don't think. I think we're like, let's go get back to the basics. We're asking a bit too much of these entertainers. Your parents should be able to have a bit of control about what you're consuming. So whether it is like putting parental guidance mechanisms or just monitoring your kids, that like the entertainers are not there.
So I don't think it's about the entertainers. I think, to me, it's about Disney and their brand. And so if I were Disney, the next person I'm signing on to a contract like this, there's going to be a very specific, and they do this all the time in Hollywood.
These clauses are exist, by the way.
You said what?
Like all the decency clauses, yes, usually.
So they do this all the time in Hollywood. So like, what I would do is, after learning from this, because I don't think Disney really knew. First of all, they didn't know that they were going to blow like this. They didn't know anything like this was going to happen.
Mhm.
As Disney, I would make it so clear that you, like, your sister, because they've done this. Like, I remember there was a YouTuber who got a contract from Netflix, and they were a YouTube duo. One YouTuber got this contract. Netflix made them sign a contract stating they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do that on their YouTube show, which kind of died off that YouTube channel. So I see in the future, like, Disney being very clear with anybody associated with your brand, you cannot do this, this, and this. And it's I don't think it's about the entertainers. I think Chloe should do whatever she wants to do with her career. She should be free. For me, I'm looking at the brand of Disney and I'm like, wow, like, this is not good for them. That's what I'm saying.
I honestly don't think it's worth like them or anyone else worrying about it. And also, I want to say, unless you're going to be paying Chloe or whoever else to act a certain way, they can only hold the person that they signed them to the role.
I think Disney has the money to pay both. But okay, we agree to disagree. We agree to disagree. Leave a comment down below. Who do you agree with? All right, I hope you like that. Please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. And check out my new app, Ray the AI, your on-the-go writing assistant powered by ChatGPT. DM her right now on Instagram, WhatsApp, and on Facebook Messenger at Ray the AI, RAETHEAI. Go check her out and make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the above, and I'll see you in the next one. A peace.